Hello and welcome to Pictorial Planet. My name's John Finch. Last week we looked at the combination of FX55 and FP4. I wanted to know what EI or ISO I was getting from that film and developer combination. It turns out I was getting 200. I've subsequently done more tests and I can confirm I'm definitely getting 200 ISO from that film in FX55. That allows me to accurately place my shadows using my exposure meter. But what about my highlights? You see, it's development that affects your highlights. So I need to be able to accurately place them by knowing my development time. How do we do that? Well, last week we used zone 1 to work out our ISO. This week we're going to use zone 9 to work out our development time. Now, Crawley told us the development time for FP4 and FX55 was 8.5 minutes, but he didn't know our thermometer, he didn't know our technique, our agitation style, or anything like that. So it was a rough estimate by him using his techniques. Well, ours are completely different. We even have different water we use and so on. So we need to work out our personal development time. Now, I've got here my board again and my camera, which is focused on infinity. This is completely filling the frame of the negative. I've taken a few shots around, and now I'm going to take a zone 9 negative. So I need to measure the board, which gives me zone 5 from my light meter, and then open up 4 stops to get more light in. 4 stops more light will push it right up to zone 9. Let's try and do that. So, first of all, make sure my board is giving me even lighting, and I'm getting a 60th at f11 all the way around, 60th at f11. So I'll place that on the camera. Very good. My ISO is set to 200, which I now know is my accurate ISO for this film. And now I'm going to open up 4 stops. One stop is f8, f5.6, f4, 2.8. So now when I take this shot, I'm going to have a negative that's exposed in zone 9. So here we are back in the darkroom. Now my film is in here. I took some extra photographs after that. So you want to you take one shot of your zone 9 and use the film on normal photography. So like I say, there's a zone 9 negative in here. I also, later on the roll, made a zone 1 again too, so I can do a quick test to make sure my 8 times 3 seconds is still the same, and then ascertain my zone 9. All shot at 200 ISO. So how long do I develop this for? Because I'm trying to work out development time. Well, the first time you do this, use the recommended development time, which is 8.5 minutes in this case for FP4. If this was a developer film combination that had no recommended development time, make an educated guess. Look around at other films developed in that developer and work out roughly where yours should fit, and make a good guess, and you'll be able to continue the finding of the zone 9 negative later on with more developments. So 8.5 minutes. 8.5 minutes with this. I'm going to start now. I've got my developer ready here, FX55. I've got my stop bath and I've got my fix. So let's start and I'll get this done. Here we go. Developer in, start the time, and start agitating. So here are the negatives of 8.5 minutes, and here's one that I took, which is zone 1, and here is the zone 9 negative. I'm going to use the zone 1 negative taken at 200 ISO just to confirm my maximum black time of 8 times 3 seconds. And then I will use this one, the zone 9 negative, to also do 8 times 3 seconds, or whatever the time is I confirm with this. And we'll see if I get a difference in my highlights. Now, somebody asked last week, why use 8 times 3 seconds instead of just using 24 seconds? Well, because each time you switch an enlarger on and it switches itself off, there's a element of warm-up of the light and dying down of the light, and they're not necessarily equal. So to get accuracy that we need here, and we are looking here for accuracy, then use your 8 times 3 or whatever the time you've got, however many 3 seconds you've got. It's important that you do that. And another tip is it's better to have 8 3 seconds than 3 3 seconds, because if it's 3 3 seconds, you have a lot of room for error there. Whereas when I'm using 8 times 3 seconds, it's a much finer tolerance. It's a much finer amount of light is being exposed each time. So if you're getting 2 times 3, 3 times 3 seconds, even 4 times 3 seconds, close down your enlarger by a stop and do it again until you get something round about 7 or 8 times. Anything like that, 6 to 10, it doesn't matter. But as long as there's, I'd say, over 6 times 3 seconds, you're getting more accuracy. So let's get on the enlarger and let's see what we get with this. I've done my test with my zone 1 and I'm getting 7 times 3 seconds. So I'm going to use that 7 times 3 seconds. There's a slight difference in the amount of light, and it could be that my height isn't exactly the same as it was before. Everything else is the same. I wrote it all down and put it on the wall up here. So I've copied those details onto my enlarger again, and I've got 7 times 8 seconds. So I'm going to use that. I've got my negative in there for my zone 9 negative. That's the dark one, remember? And I'm going to get a piece of paper out of the box and I'll show you what I do with that piece of paper. So let's go lights out and start our work on the enlarger. Right, so I'll get a piece of paper out of the box. Here it is here. You can't see it very easily, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this piece of paper on the easel underneath the enlarger, which is stop down, 3 stops. It's all the same as I used for my test. And I'm going to cover half of it up. So I'm covering up half, like so. And this is going to help us tell the difference between the two whites, because we're going to get a very slight difference on one side if our zone 9 is accurate. So let me make sure my enlarger is down on 3 seconds still. There we are. And let's do our 7 times 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lovely. I'll develop that now and we'll have a look at it. So I'm having a look. I've dried this down now. I wrote on the back my 8.5 minutes so that I know which test is which. And I would expect to see part of it slightly off-white compared to the other part, because I'd covered half of it up. So half of it's unexposed, and the exposed bit, 7 times 3 seconds, should be slightly off-white, and it isn't. Nothing. So it's not registering on the paper. What does that mean? Well, that means it's overdeveloped, because zone 9, which should be slightly off-white, has been pushed into at least 10 and beyond. Zone 10 is absolute white. It's absolutely white. So we need to reduce development time. Let's get back to the developing. So now we know 8.5 minutes was too long. My highlights are being pushed right out and they won't register on my paper. So we need to reduce our development time to bring those highlights down. Now then, how do I work out how much to reduce by? I'm going to use the 10% rule. I'm just going to pull it back by 10%. So I convert my 8.5 minutes into seconds. reduce it by 10% and then convert it back into minutes. And I came out with 7 minutes and 34 seconds as my development time. So now let's try that and see if that brings our highlights back into the register of our paper. So I have fresh developer here, and I'm going to start 7 minutes 34 seconds. So here at the top is my new negatives, 7 minutes and 34 seconds, and I can see a slight difference. It's slightly lighter is the zone 9 negative, so hopefully that's going to print at zone 9, but we don't know by looking at it. We have to do the print test to find out, because remember, your paper reacts differently from a densitometer. It reacts differently from what your eye sees. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we're getting the zones on our paper that we expect. This isn't theoretical. This is the practical way of getting your developer and film combination locked together. This is the practical and real way to do it so that you could actually see what you're trying to do. So let's get this under the enlarger and see if this one will give us that zone 9 that we want. 5, 6, 7. So here is our 7 minutes and 34 seconds, and I'm looking for my off-white side, and I haven't got one. So even a reduction of 10% hasn't given me any highlight in zone 9. It's overdeveloped. Let's go back and try again. So even 7 minutes 34 seconds is still pushing my highlights outside of the register of my paper. So I need to reduce it more. I'm going to bring it down another 10%. So I worked that out to be 6 minutes and 54 seconds. So 6:54, here we go. I've taken some more shots. I've got a zone 9 negative on there. I've made fresh developer. Let's do it. Here is my 6 minutes and 54 seconds. And now I'm beginning to see a difference. I can just make out, and I don't know if you can see that on the video. It's so subtle, but zone 9 is subtle. This side is slightly grayer than this side. And that means I'm finally getting my zone 9 in the right place. So it looks like, for me, 6 minutes 54 seconds is about right. And it's so subtle, I might actually bring it down another 5%. So I would say 5% less for me than 6:54. Now, that's my time. Don't you copy that and think that's your time, because it's not. You need to do this test. You need to find out your development time, because your technique is different from mine. Your thermometers are different from mine. Your measuring equipment is different. So please, don't just copy my times. Go out and find your own. But it looks like I'm going to go 5% less than 6:54, and I'm happy that I finally got the development time for Crawley's FX55 and FP4. Well, how interesting is this? 6 minutes 54 seconds. I'm just beginning to see the difference, but I'd like to see it a little more than that. Just a little more. So I'm going to bring it down to 6 minutes 30 seconds. Next week I'll be showing you the result of that. And we'll have a look at some photographs I take using this developer, film and time combination. We've got an ISO of 200 from FP4. We've got a proven development time that fits in with exactly our equipment, our style of development, everything about our development. So we've locked those two together. And of course, we've locked in our handheld meter so I can use it with any camera. So I hope now you're beginning to understand why we need to do these tests, to get the best possible negatives, to be able to place our zones exactly where we want them. I can now get my shadows exactly where I want my shadows, and I can now get my highlights exactly where I want my highlights through development time. We'll check it out next week and see if 6 minutes 30 seconds works. But until then, have a great time. Thank you to my patrons. You guys are fantastic. I got 2 more patrons this week. I'm so pleased. You helped me so much. You pay towards my costs for paper, my developers, and all kinds of things that keeps this channel going. I have a big announcement coming up very soon. So subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. You want to hear this announcement. It's quite important. And I'll see you next week.